The Mitten by Jan Brett. Now, Jan Brett wrote the books that we read earlier, The Gingerbread Baby and Gingerbread Friends, and she is also the author of this book. And I love her illustrations. And the other thing that, if you remember, that she does is that when she draws the main picture, she also has pictures on each side that tell us what's happening. So pay close attention to those pictures because it's going to tell you what happened and what might be happening next. So let's get started. Let's see what's going to happen in the Mitten. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as the snow. At first, his grandmother, who he called Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you will never find it. It will be the same color. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. That was nice of Baba. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look and see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow white mittens. So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Oh dear. Look, and I'm going to come up closer here, and I want to show you on this page, if you look by the tree, right here, you will see there is his mitten that he lost. And if you look over here, there's a creature that's waiting to go in the mitten. That is a mole. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten. And he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. He got out of the way for that rabbit to get in there. And if we look here, it might tell us who's coming next. Do you know what that's called? A hedgehog. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled and poked, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. So look at what's happening to the mitten. It's getting bigger and bigger. Ah, look what's next. Do you think that owl is going to fit in that mitten? Let's find out. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, those are his sharp nails on his, right here on his feet, right there, those are his talons. They quickly let him in. So here we are, everybody's in the mitten. I don't think any other creatures are going to fit in there. Oh boy. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. They were not happy. There was no room left. But when they saw his diggers, they gave him the room. So there's a badger. And the diggers are his hands, so they must be pointed. So they moved over, and I think they let him move into the thumb. Oh my goodness. Look what's coming next. There's no way a fox is going to fit in that mitten. Do you think? Oh my. Wait till you see this. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. That means sleepy. the fox picked up his muzzle in, so he stuck his nose in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, well, they got out of the way. And in goes the fox. Yikes. This is the most giant mitten I've ever seen. A bear. A giant, great big brown bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed as tightly as could be. But what animal would ever argue with a bear? None that I know of. The mitten swelled and it stretched and it was pulled and it bulged so many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. So Baba did such a great job that even when it stretched, it didn't come apart. Now look who's coming. Teeny tiny mouse. I wonder if there's room. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into one spot left and made herself comfortable on top of the great big bear's nose. Look at. So cute. The bear, tickled by the mouse on his nose, whiskers. Uh-oh, guess what happens? He let out an enormous sneeze. Achoo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up in the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. So the animals went everywhere. And here, if you look here, you can see Nicky is looking, I think, for his mitten. He's realized it's been lost. He doesn't want to get in trouble. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. And there's all the animals that were shot out of the mitten. As he ran to catch the snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. Now, what do you think is going to be different from the mitten he had on his hand to the mitten that all the animals were in? It's going to be big. You're right. And there's Baba looking at the mittens and thinking, what in the world happened here? There's the mitten she knit, and there is the mitten that was stretched by all of those animals. And I can tell that she's thinking, I love that story. Okay, you are going to have a job, and what you're going to do is I'm going to give you some materials to show you how you can retell the story at home. So this is a story that's kind of like a pattern. One animal goes in, then the other, then the other. And you may need to listen to the story a couple of times so that you know in which order the animals go. And then you can retell the story to someone at your house. Have fun and wait for the next video.